Welcome back to Daytime. It's Monday, so it's only fitting that we talk about wine.
Oh, of course.
And getting smashed. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, you didn't say that. We'll smash this bottle on you. Joining us today, we have Ray Vezeau of Chateau Vezeau Wines. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Perking up our spirits, perhaps, on a Monday morning.
It's pretty early.
One problem, it's all empty.
Oh, well.
That's funny. So you are a winemaking store.
Absolutely.
And what goes on there besides, well, you know, in general, you make wine, but...
It's a ferment on premises store. So it's a store where people come in and they'll choose which kind of wine they want to make. And then we make it in batches. This is a 23-liter carboy, so we make 23 liters at a time in a batch. So people will come in, we have about 30, 40 different varieties that they can choose from, select the wine they want. And then most people will hire me to make the wine for them. They have the option of taking the kits home if they want, if they have their own equipment. They can if they have their own equipment and make it in their basement, and that's how we all started until about 10 years ago.
I thought that was illegal, that you can't make it at home.
No, that's moonshine you're talking about. You can't have a still, but you can make wine.
You can make wine at home.
That's right.
That's legal.
Right, but most customers actually hire me to do it in my store. It saves you purchasing equipment, which is about $100 investment in equipment, and then there's the couple of weeks of odor while the wine's fermenting and all of the labor that's involved. So for the most part, most customers will come in and hire me to make the wine.
And I'm sure the wine comes out a lot better if the expert does it, right?
Well,
if it's your first time, you might get something fancy.
Actually, that's not really true anymore.
No?
The kits are fairly straightforward. What the big difference has been is a lot of people think of homemade wine from years ago when it was your neighbor who came from Europe and crushed grapes himself. And in those cases, what he took was whatever the grape provided for him, whatever the terroir provided, and the grape that year was the wine they got. Now we have a little more technology involved. In fact, all the wine kit companies have their own vintners. So they test the must to produce a consistent, because they have to year-round produce a consistent wine. So they're testing for pH and alkalinity and bricks and all those things to produce a consistent wine. So I've had lots of wine that I poured down the sink myself from good-willed neighbors who had brought me a bottle of homemade wine that was undrinkable. And this is a considerable step away from it. This is much more comparable to commercial wines. We use the same vintners.
What I'm picturing is a bunch of packets with powders.
No.
No?
Well, there are some powders involved. There are some additives that we put in, but for the most part, what we start with is a grape concentrate, which is juice that has had most of the water removed.
It's not like a Kool-Aid kit, you know.
Well, it's not quite like that.
Imagine that.
Our grapes in the industry come from around the world. So for shipping purposes, they'll dehydrate the juice a little bit before they ship it. So then we have to rehydrate it a little bit with a little water. But it is coming as a juice concentrate that we'll mix together into a primary pail. Now there are some additives that we'll put in to the benefit. We'll put in a yeast nutrient maybe, and we'll put on additives that will help it ferment a little faster, because we actually make wine in anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, you have something that speeds up the process, don't you?
Absolutely. We have accelerator kits that can do it in 7 days. They came out around Christmas time for people who were coming in December and saying, can I still make wine for Christmas? And the answer this year was, yes, we can. We have these 7-day accelerator kits, which actually can speed the process up and have wine ready in 7 days.
Yeah, sorry, Cash, go ahead.
I was just going to ask, what is that speeding up agent in there?
Well, what it really is it's a turbo yeast, which is just a much faster acting yeast, and we add a super nutrient to it.
Okay.
So what we do is we just create the most favorable environment possible for the yeast to work. So where a carboy like this, when it's working, will sit here and bubble about once every second or two under normal circumstances. With the turbo yeast in there, it sounds like a rapid-fire machine gun, the way it's bubbling away there. And it's done in 3 or 4 days. Well, but that's the 7-day accelerator kit. And again, the only reason we use those if there's some reason that you want it to get done quickly.
Sure.
So there's the odd customer who will come in and they have run out of wine. They've been making wine and they've run out. So then we'll do a 7-day accelerator kit and we'll do a regular kit.
See, my question is now, you're putting in turbo yeast and accelerator kits. Does that take away from the quality of the wine at all? That doesn't seem right.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but you have to realize, too, the 4- and 6-week kits are like about a quarter of the time that a winery will use, too. So we're already using a faster yeast. It may have some slight effect on the quality. I did my own taste test. I did a kit the regular way, and then I did a 7-day accelerator kit because I wanted to check myself. I personally couldn't tell the difference between the two. I tested one that was about 8 weeks old and one that was actually 7 days after I had started the fermentation. I was drinking the wine, And I couldn't tell the difference. I may not have the greatest palate in the world, but
sure
I have
you're
some
pretty
training in it, and I have a reasonable
Well, haven't
palate.
you been doing this for over 20 years?
I've been making wine for over 20 years now. I just opened the store about a year and a half ago. So this was basically turning my home-based knowledge into a commercial knowledge, and that was what I had to figure out.
So what does one do? They think to themselves, maybe I'll make my own wine.
Right.
Where do they go from there?
Well, there's
Besides
really
your
two
place,
steps. Absolutely.
Chateau Vezeau Wines in Brooklyn.
Right. Well, there's really two steps is all that is required of the customer. The first step, and it's the most difficult one, is choosing the wine you want. And that's the one that most people have the trouble with. Is they'll
Do you
come
have
in.
wine tasting, though?
Unfortunately,
That's
that is
not
illegal.
legal.
That's
Yeah.
illegal. We're not allowed to keep any finished wine on the premises.
Wow.
So people will
Shame.
come in and they'll choose their wine. Now, if you already know what you want, you can be in and out in 5 minutes. The other thing you have to do on the first day is you have to start the fermentation, which is a combination of adding the yeast and helping to mix the ingredients. So the two of us will put the ingredients together into a primary pail. You'll toss the yeast, which is the actual step that starts fermentation. And then that's basically it. So you can be in and out in 5 minutes the first day. Then you come back after it's all finished. So all of the intermediate steps I take care of. That's what you're hiring me for. So I do all the filtering and all the moving from one carboy to another. I'll get it down to a finished product so that when you come back in 4 or 6 weeks' time, I'll have a carboy full of wine that's ready to be drank, but you probably want to put it into smaller bottles.
So BYOB, bottles.
That's right. Most customers will come in with 30 of their empty bottles. If they're regular customers, come in with 30 empty bottles. We do sell new bottles as well, or some people will just salvage them from wherever. So they come in when the wine is completely finished, and then we have as much automated equipment as we can to speed the process up. And that's really sterilizing the bottles, cleaning them. If you want the old labels off, you have to do that before you come into the store. But it takes about
Soak them
30
in
minutes.
hot water.
That's right.
We did
That's
that
right.
at home. My mother gets her wine.
And scraping away sometimes, especially
Yeah.
with the commercial labels. Our homemade labels are a little easier to come off. But so it takes about 30 minutes by the time you sterilize the bottles. We have an electric pump to fill them. We have a hydraulic corking machine. We have a machine to put the shrink capsules on the top. And then the labels, all our labels are peel and stick. So we can even customize labels. We have preset labels that are always included in the price, but very popular is this type of thing for a wedding.
Weddings. I'm really seeing that more and more these days.
It is very popular at weddings. A combination of
This one's
serving the
nice.
wine or having the wine available as a gift to them. So these are the kinds of things we can do. We can do any kind of a custom label for them, and then we have bags and
People put
wraps
pictures
and-
of themselves
Absolutely.
on them.
This is one I mocked up
Narcissist.
here of myself
that.
and my wife
You did?
for exactly that purpose. So that's pretty much the whole process, is coming in and bottling it and then going home and enjoying it.
Go ahead.
What if someone really wants to customize their own flavor? Let's say they like a Merlot, but they like a sweeter Merlot.
Well, absolutely.
Or
That's
does
one
that
of the
just not
advantages.
constitute Merlot anymore?
Well, no. Sweetness is a personal taste.
Right.
And that's one of the beauties of our industry, is we can customize not only an entire batch, but we can customize partial batches.
No.
Because we can sweeten to taste at bottling time. It's more popular with the whites that a customer may want to sweeten the whites. So most people prefer a dry red, but the whites get sweetened. So a customer will come in, and that is the only time you're allowed to drink wine on my premises. You are allowed to sample your own wine that you made yourself to see if you want to sweeten it.
And you don't sample it in one of these, do
No,
you?
no, I brought that in to show the the types of glasses we have. But absolutely, you come in and you sample your wine
In a little shot glass.
in a little wine glass we have.
sorry.
It's got to be in a proper
Shot
glass.
glass.
But
Wine in a shot glass.
we can sweeten it to
Chug,
any level
chug.
that you want.
Yeah.
So most of our wines start at 0, but we can sweeten them up to 1, 2, 3, whatever you like, and even do partial batches. So, you know, if a husband and wife come in and he likes his dry and she doesn't, because you're always working from a 23-liter carboy, which is 30 of these 750 bottles. So you can do 15 as a 0 sweetness and 15 as a
love
1.
that.
That's
I
great.
love that.
Yeah.
What would you say your clientele is? Is it maybe mainly the old school that used to make wine in the basement and they're just sick of it and they just kind of go to you? Or is there a younger clientele these days?
Well, actually, it is not really the old school that makes it in their basement, because those people still
They're done.
They're
They're
still
gonna be
making it in
doing
their
that.
basement
Right.
if they're making it at all.
Right.
But I find that our clientele is the two ends of the spectrum. We get the retired people who have the time and have picked this up as a hobby. We have the younger people, young couples who have a new family who are trying to save some money and come in for the economy of it. we don't get that many people who have, at my stage of life with the teenagers at home, who tend not to have the time. Right. And I think that's people think of it as a great investment of time, where really you're looking at 5 minutes to start and 30 minutes to finish.
My mother is a part of that demographic that you say is low. She would go, she still does go and get her wine made, but it's just to save time she would do that, to save money. I guess, because she
well, that is one of the side benefits of this is, you know, we try to look at it as a hobby. It's a fun thing when you come into the store to do the bottling of wine. A lot of couples come in together and have a good time with it. But it's a hobby, unlike, you know, stamp collecting, which costs you thousands of dollars. This is a hobby which is actually going to save you money.
It really does.
And that's really the way we try to view it, is this is a hobby with a side benefit if it's going to save you money. It's a great way to build a wine cellar. If you want to build up a 120 bottle wine cellar, well, if you're going to go to the store, the LCBO, and buy 120 bottles of wine, you know, you're going to be shelling out a couple $1,000s probably, whereas you can build it up this way. And we really can make, you know, we have 4-week kits, 6-week kits, and even an 8-week kit.
And a 1 week, right?
And a 1 week.
That's crazy.
You're set to go.
I love it. ChateauVezeauWines.com. Chateau, do you really have a castle?
I sort of do. It's where I live. My home is my castle.
There you go.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us and enlightening us a little bit. We're going to a break. When we come back, we're learning about the Visual Arts Center of Clarington. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you would like a copy of Daytime, please call us at 905-436-4126.